Sweet little lies.
Just waiting on me, I didn't sign in.
Tell me lies.
Up that day job.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you to say something. Yeah,
You got a better chance of being thrown off.
Okay.
yeah.
Hey everyone, we're gonna go live now, right?
Whenever you're ready. I think.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our public council meeting. I got one favor this evening, and that's to ask everyone to be patient with me because it's been a while since I chaired a meeting. Mayor Scott is out of the province. So I'd like to call for a motion for the adoption of the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Should we do new business?
Hmm?
Should we do new business before we?
I checked that with,
We're gonna do it now.
it comes after the adoption of the agenda. Okay, so we'll go around now to see who has new business. So Councillor Tapper?
Pass. Pass.
Howard?
Thank you, Icebergs, FCN, and congratulations. Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Okay, and I have thank you. Okay, carrying right on. So you please look at the minutes and if there's any errors or omissions.
Right here, you ready?
Okay,
Thank you. When I participated last week in the meeting, I was virtual, and I got a fair bit of feedback afterwards, people saying they had a hard time hearing me. And understanding that, when I read through the package, I was like, I don't remember congratulating federal ministers, but I remember congratulating Minister Paul Pike. So I double checked it, and I called Kim a few minutes before the meeting and said, could we just fix that in there? So 2 points. One, if we could just have a look at volume when we participate online. And the second piece, just to have it updated that it was Minister Paul Pike, the Municipal Affairs Minister, that I was congratulating. Thank you.
okay, thank you. That's it? Anybody else? No? Okay. Have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Okay, conflict of interest. There isn't a report tonight, so I don't know if anybody else has anything on the agenda that we're not aware of. Okay,
It just on that, on conflict of interest, if we can take it back to CEO to have a look at the extent of conflict of interest. And the reason I ask is I just happen to notice there's a request in there from Torbay Minor Softball to look at their, also having, during budget session, we all agreed that all groups would pay for the use of the services. And they had sent a letter in requesting, and we didn't answer them back because it bounced around between committees. It came to corporate services, and because it was a recreation, then we sent it back to recreation, and recreation didn't put it through. I think, I could be wrong, I think it's recreation, because both councillors were in conflict. I also noticed that Councillor Appy had said at one point in time she was in conflict as well, because I think Kathy is in minor softball, or Jake, whatever, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure that was old or recent, but that puts three councillors in conflict of interest, which leaves it coming back to the Corporate Services Committee again, which I particularly think is a little far-fetched in terms of what we do as a group, and we discuss it all at budget time. So I really can't see how, when it comes down to accepting something from a minor group, that would really be considered conflict of interest. So I'd really like someone to go back and try to feather that out, because sometimes we're right on the edge of conflict, but when it comes down to eliminating 50% of the group, shall we say, I find that something wrong with how we interpret it. So if we can just get some further clarifications on that, I'd certainly
check
like
into that, Mark? Okay.
Thanks.
That came up at our committee meeting when it was on the agenda, and is it not on? Can you hear me now? All right, sorry about that. What happened was, it came up as a conversation point. So for Torbay Minor Softball, for me, there is a conflict. Jake is most likely going to be in that program. I've already got an email from his father requesting that be the case, which he has been every year since it's been open. Kathy is also engaged with Torbay Minor Softball, and she's also looking to play in the Ladies League. So any discussion around how much money they get, which would impact how much they charge in fees, is a direct conflict of interest for me personally. I can't participate. In the discussion at committee, that it came up for Rhonda, and Rhonda had said she had intended to play. So again, there's a cost for her to participate and play if we roll that out. So those were the conflicts that came up in the meeting. I actually did contact Sandy during the meeting, and I asked Sandy to give us clarification on that so we could be sure that we were correct in declaring the conflict of interest with the new legislation. And he did go through it and he did identify the clause that did state where our conflicts of interest lie, and that's the reason why we declared those conflicts of interest. So just to make sure that that's understood and known where those conflicts came from in the meeting and what we had done to ensure that we followed the proper practice on that under legislation.
Sure, I'd still like for it to be reviewed from you know, the staff perspective as well, just to
Yeah.
get clarity. Because it's not only that, it's some other instances we've had, and I just figured now that, seeing as I can see, you know, 50% of council being eliminated from the vote, shall we say, I think that it needs to go back to just for further clarification on how that whole conflict works. I can't see it being a conflict for relating to minor softball if folks want to play senior golf. I can't see that being a conflict at all, so I don't see how. I don't even had a grandchild or something along in softball, I can certainly see it. But even then I find it stretched. But
The grandchild thing-
because we have to go back to minor softball and give them an answer one way or another, and I certainly don't want to have it based on a couple of councillors' opinion when 50% can back away from it. Sorry. That's just my thoughts.
The grandchild question was asked in the conversation as well, but I think it's important to have it documented and have it looked into and have it provided in public package why there is a conflict. So I absolutely have no problem with that, but just wanted to ensure that the discussion happened at committee is clear, so we know that. Thank you.
All right. So moving on, I have the proclamations. And first one is Recreation Month.
All right. Recreation Month. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Recreation NL has a proclamation here for Recreation Month. I just have to upsize it for my eyes at this point. Whereas the community of Torbay recognizes that recreation enhances quality of life, active living, and lifelong learning, helps people to live happier and longer, develops creativity, and builds healthy bodies and positive lifestyles. And whereas recreation provides opportunities for personal growth and development for people of all abilities and can be especially helpful to people living with disabilities. And whereas our parks, open spaces, and trails ensure ecological sustainability, provide space to enjoy nature, help maintain clean air and water, and preserve plant and animal wildlife. And whereas recreation is an important contributor to community economic development, which creates jobs, fosters tourism, and makes communities more attractive place in which to live, learn, work, and play.
Therefore, the community of Torbay does hereby proclaim the month of June to be Recreation Month. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I'll have a comment if it's okay. As a member of the Community Services and Recreation Committee, I want to put a shout out to our staff who have hundreds of people any given day coming through the Common, running all kinds of programs for all kinds of people within the community. It's really important. It's not only just for people who may have physical disabilities, but also, you know, for mental and other disabilities, the ability to take breaks, go for a walk, go for a walk around a trail, connect with nature, exercise at all kinds of different levels, accessibility, making sure that our trails are accessible so people can participate in the community. Get out and check out those gorgeous icebergs that we have coming down off the coastline right now. There's so many amazing things that recreation brings to the community for all kinds of people at all kinds of levels. So just want to extend a big thank you to our team who are doing amazing work in this space. And thank you for the opportunity to bring this forward tonight.
Anyone else? Okay. I'd just like to thank, we have staff that are continuously doing a great job. We also have the two 50-plus groups, one active 50-plus and the other one. And I understand tonight they're gone on a I don't know, I think it's tonight, but if not, it's tomorrow night, where they've got another great event planned, and it's all about recreation and getting out there with all 50 plus. So a big thank you to all the groups that are actually volunteering and doing things behind the scenes to get people out moving. So the next one that we have, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next one we have is the red shirt, day, May 28, proclamation. Councillor Pollard,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah. Red Shirt Day proclamation. Whereas Red Shirt Day is an Easter Seals initiative first celebrated in 2019 and takes place annually during National Accessibility Week, observed starting the last Sunday of every May. And whereas Red Shirt Day is a day to wear red in solidarity and show support for persons and families living with disabilities. And whereas Red Shirt Day is a day to celebrate the achievements of people living with disabilities and to pledge our commitment to help create a fully accessible and inclusive society that values the contributions of people with disabilities in all aspects of life. And whereas disability, accessibility, and inclusion do not end with just a one-day annual event. In order to make Canada a truly accessible and inclusive society and our community truly accessible, it requires constant year-round commitment and efforts of all Canadians to put it into practice. And whereas it is encouraged that residents and the community make a commitment, a pledge, to educate and inform ourselves on issues related to disability and to do what we can to remove attitudinal and systematic barriers in schools, workplaces, and communities so that we can make Canada a truly accessible and inclusive place for people of all abilities. And
Now therefore, the town of Torbay do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May 28, 2025 as Red Shirt Day, and encourage all residents to wear red and display solidarity to show support for a fully accessible and inclusive community. So moved.
second.
Any discussion?
I will. Thank you. Surprise. I just want to thank you for bringing this forward again tonight. There's a lot of people who want to participate in the community, and it's really important to have an inclusive community where everybody has the ability to participate in whatever way they're looking to, that's meaningful, that gives them that chance to be connected to community. So I just want to thank you for bringing this forward, and I'll be marking my calendar for wearing red on the 28th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next we have, our speaker is not here. She didn't hear from her, so we'll see what happens. Any Q&A online or
Nothing came in
nothing?
by
Anybody?
email.
Sandy, do you have anything?
Sorry about that.
I forwarded the Universal Design home building checklist. I think I may have sent it to the wrong person. Who should I send that to?
Julia.
I can.
Okay, my last name has no T.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Mayor's report, there's none. Business arising. Councillor Pollard?
All folks who were going to answer that question, our third person, I want to give an update from the mayor on where we stand on the water. I know it's been, and I keep saying, we live in chunks of 2 weeks at a time, and time just flies by, and I'm willing to bet we're at our 6th chunk of 2 weeks since we discussed the funding, and as of yet, we haven't moved forward. Now, I know some of it was because we were in holding pattern with the federal election, things of that nature, but certainly want to keep that on the front burner so that we can get things moving.
Yeah.
And the mayor was also going to reach out to the 2 ministers, and I'm not sure where we stand on that front, so if anybody has any further information.
He did reach out to them and he copied me on the email, but I don't see a reply from either one of them
Okay.
to date.
I'd speak to the funding. So we do have a meeting with the people from CHIF, from federal government, on June the 10th, I believe it is, June the 10th. So that's our first meeting with them to discuss the signing of the agreement and the path forward.
Thanks, Brian.
Well, we-
David has provided some information on that as well?
Yeah, so we've also met with the bank for funding of our share and as well. So we are making progress on that and should not be an issue as of right now.
So we should, hearing that, then we should have a meeting on this Monday night on the committee of the whole before we proceed any further with this. So if we can have that added to the committee of the whole
Absolutely.
for Monday night,
I'll make sure of that.
yeah. To give an update on funding and where we're to with the big picture.
I didn't know we were having one then, though, to my knowledge.
16.
I'm not sure if we need a pre-meeting, like where staff are gonna prep for this introductory meeting, so this is like a first meeting, and they sent us two sets of questionnaires that we have to complete in advance of that meeting, so it's really probably more of a technical meeting, and then after that meeting, I would suggest then we brief council and
Because the way that it sounds to me is that there was a meeting that you've gone to the bank.
It's very preliminary
Okay.
at this point.
yeah.
Because no decision has been made on what
No.
direction and what we're doing is my understanding, so.
Very
It's a
preliminary
very-
since the election, but they have provided us with a series of questionnaires, but we will report back with the committee
Okay.
of the whole.
Kim, just on the 2 emails that were sent to the ministers, do we get acknowledgement that they were received?
I didn't receive any acknowledgement.
Can we bump that up the
Okay,
ladder again? 'Cause
sure thing.
They should at least acknowledge receipt and.
Okay, anything else? Okay, it's correspondence
Could I-
there. Oh,
Deputy
sorry.
Mayor, just one more thing.
Yeah,
I know in the past, sending emails to MHAs, there have been instances where I've experienced it, where we thought that we had sent it to the right email, but then it was, oh, it didn't go to that email because someone's not watching over that account, something's different here. So maybe if I could suggest that when we bump it back up, that we copy the minister's email on it, so that whoever their EA is that's doing their work would see it as well, because I know that's been an issue in the past that I've come across, where we've sent something in, we weren't getting a response, and then I reached out to the office to find out what was going on there, and they came back and said, we don't see it, and it was going to an email, but which would have made sense to us at the time. They were like, if you're sending anything, please copy the minister, so their constituency person would be able to see it and flag it as well. So I just suggest that if we have not done that, to consider that
I
in,
will
the response.
definitely reach out and ensure that we have the EAs as well as the correct
Mhm.
ministers' email address.
thank you.
okay,
Okay.
thank you. Correspondence there for the electric vehicle chargers available for municipalities, and the municipalities knew from NL note for May 21st. So that's there for everybody's information. Committees of council.
Excuse me, Ursula, before we move on, just on the electric vehicle side of things, can we get a further update on what Canada's commitment is to this going green at some point in time? Because there seems to be conflicting information floating around in terms of, you know, what the focus is now, given that Trump and his tariffs put it through a balls and everything, shall we say, even our own world. There's been some fallback on the rush to make everything electric. And I'm just curious, before we go down the road and spend a lot of money unnecessarily, and I know it's like Toyota's going towards more hydrogen than they are electric, that scenario, we certainly wouldn't want to put a lot of investment in infrastructure that is not going to be operable at the end of the day. So Canada should have some guidance on it. I don't know if they change, if they're looking for it, and maybe it's a little premature for that even with the new government, but certainly if we can get as much up-to-date information as we can before something might come to the table for us to approve from an electrical perspective, I know I would certainly
Point.
appreciate that.
I have a note made of
Yeah.
that, and I'll put it in our action report.
I just had one thought when I read down over that. Brian, do we have electric chargers and that up to the upper three corner? I don't know, we
No.
should be asking, because
No.
I'm
No.
thinking that we've
No.
got them everywhere,
Yeah, we got
except really,
one here
except
at
up
the,
there.
one at town office, 2 at the depot, and 2 at the common right now.
Yeah,
But we are doing a feasibility study that's funded through, I'm gonna say FCM, but I'm not 100% sure. So once that report comes back, that is gonna look at what they're gonna give us the information on what they think is the right direction to go, and some of the stuff that Councillor
Yeah,
Pollard's talking
I
about,
just
come
happened
up
to-
in that watch as well.
If we were, like, needed any more, that was one place I was thinking, I wasn't sure if they were up there or not, right? 'Cause we
Yeah,
didn't
so,
want
so the feasibility study itself is looking at electric vehicles for the town.
That's the
not
one
necessarily-
that
not-
Carrie's doing?
Infrastructure Public Works is doing it, yes.
Okay, well.
Kerry was involved in the first part of it, yeah.
Okay, I think.
He got the funding for it, and
Security
we're doing the study.
funding Through the Federation
Yeah,
of
okay.
Municipalities to
As,
explore the
yeah,
electric
as it goes
vehicles
on.
and-
But, so what we're looking at there is, like say, is for fleet vehicles. So the charging stations right now that's outside of our buildings are stations that were put in when these buildings are
Yeah.
being built or being remodeled. And they were just part of some funding that came about at that point in time. So we're also gonna go back and look at that and what the actual use of those charging stations should look like. So, stay tuned, a lot of that's gonna come out in the next month or so.
Following up for Councillor Pollard, there's a updated Greening Government Strategy 2024 that's available on the Government of Canada's website. So I would assume if that's what's there, that's what the Government of Canada would be using right now. But with the speech from the throne happening tomorrow, I'm sure we'll all be paying attention to see what changes and direction will be coming with that at the time. So, just to share.
All right, thank you. Now, Committees, Council, Planning and Land Use, Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. 1 sec. 61%, 80%. Just short report this evening. The first motion is a motion to just adopt the notes and presentation from Great Pond Watershed. So to accept and distribute the notes and presentation from the Great Pond Watershed meeting on April 29th, 2025 to all property owners in the Great Pond Watershed. So moved.
Second.
And this just follows up on a promise we made to the residents actually that we would follow up and distribute our accumulation of data, I guess, and the questions and answers that we had to the point in time we had the meeting. So it's all there, and myself and I know Councillor Tapper went down through it for sure. So anybody else has any comments or anything on it, feel free, but
Okay,
otherwise they're ready to go.
I have a comment.
other
if it's okay.
discussion, okay.
I just wanted to apologize for not being at that meeting. We did have an email that advised us that the meeting was happening, but I didn't have the calendar invite. And when I looked in my calendar, I was like, how did I miss that? And if it's not in my calendar, then it's not real. So that's, it's a mistake and an oversight. But I do want to apologize for missing the meeting because I would have been there otherwise. So no concern about that, just want to apologize to the residents for missing. And I know that there were a lot of questions, and it looks like there was a lot of great discussion and questions answered for residents at that. So thank you for hosting it and participating. I think it's important to have engagement and communication with people so we all know what to expect as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just, as somebody who did attend the meeting with a few others, it was great crowd there and lots of questions, and I think our staff did a great job answering all the questions, taking them back, following up now with the answers and sharing it with everybody. And so, Director, congratulations. And no, it was very worthwhile, I think. And people were happy. They stayed around and spoke to each other after, and it was very well attended. But you know, for the issue at hand, everybody was respectful. So it was great turnout.
Okay. Okay. Yes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
The last one is just to accept the Torbay 2025 permit listings for the week ending May 21st, 2025 as tabled. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
So is
Anything
that
else
report,
in
was
there?
it? Nope.
That, okay.
It's not that there's any shortage of things going on behind the scenes. We'll all be inundated one of these days.
Just read the notes.
Yeah. Okay, the next is Administration and Human Resources, and I'm going to ask Councillor Pollard to review that one as well, in the absence of Councillor Manning and myself here.
I gotta start looking for those longer straws, I can see that. Short one. I'm not gonna read out all the information that's there. The individual jobs and recruitment selection is there for everybody to read. I do want to announce that the 2025 summer day camp positions have been successfully staffed, and the following is the list of hires: Julia Peddle, Josh Parsons, Alex Maynard, Daniel Peddle, Annabelle Earl, Anna Nowotzinski, Abigail Dunphy, Chelsea Tapper, Ryan Tapper, Sam Goss, Ava Goss, Haley Squires, Jennifer Canning, Tessa Thorne, and Emily Edmonds. And we certainly want to extend our congratulations and a welcome to all those folks that work with us during the summer camp. So certainly look forward and wish them all the best in their endeavors. The next item, I guess, relates to item number 2 is municipal code of conduct. And
Before you go any further, I think I need to declare a conflict of interest on this one.
We won't have enough for motion. We won't have a quorum, is that right?
Yeah. At the time of this, I didn't have the same information that I have now, but I have learned through ATIP recently in the last couple of months that I was named in this as a respondent. And there was a complaint made that made accusations and names me in it. So I do feel that there's a conflict of interest here, as far as I'm concerned, and I'd like to get further clarification from council on that. It's my understanding, I think that's how that goes if you're the person who's directed toward.
yeah,
Okay. All right, so.
But there's also the
Defer?
component
yeah,
of
we
a,
moved it forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the best, yeah.
All right,
Just on that note, though, before we do defer, the reference to this is municipal code of conduct came into effect on September 1st, 2022. And as per 2 sections of the Acts, 14.4 and 5, council shall review the report at a privileged meeting in the council. Following the review, council shall by resolution dismiss the complaint or make a determination that the councillor contravened the code of conduct. In these particular cases, or this particular case here, council overlooked the requirement and apologizes for the error in events, and that's why it's coming forward now at such a late date. So it's from
We will defer.
CEO. So, but I move we defer till next meeting of the council.
okay.
Second.
I still declare conflict on
Yeah.
deferral.
Okay, well,
Well, we don't have enough
we'll
then
just
to
have
even.
to, the motion is dead.
Mm,
Sorry,
It's okay.
I just can't
Motion's dead on the floor.
speak to it,
Yeah,
or I understand, I can't speak to it.
all right, so. We've got another motion.
That was easy? Good. That was the short straw.
Got another motion.
Is there?
Yes.
Where is that? Oh, sorry, I didn't, too excited, see?
No, I thought you were done.
Yes. Be resolved that as per section 13 of the Municipal Elections Act, that the town clerk, Kim Osmond, be appointed the returning officer for the October 2nd, 2025 municipal election in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Also be resolved that as per section 13 of the Municipal Election Act, and in the event that the town clerk, Kim Osmond, is unable to perform her duties on the election day, that the accounts receivable administrator, Holly Walters, be appointed the alternate returning officer for the October 2nd, 2025 municipal election in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Be it resolved as per section 14 of the Municipal Elections Act that September 4th, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. be designated as nomination day for the October 2nd, 2025 municipal election in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And be it resolved that as per section 26 of the Municipal Elections Act, that September 19th, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. be set as the events poll day for the October 2nd, 2025 municipal election in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
We'll be busy.
Just
So
like I
ends
said,
that report.
We don't need a motion for the election day,
No.
so.
Okay, so next we have corporate services.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Tapper.
The information there on the corporate services report,
I thought
I will
that's-
not read out, it's there for everybody's reading. That is the dollar amount of payroll process, the check register. I'm gonna move to the council, or to the invoices for approval. So I'll deal with these ones first. A 2025 donation to East Coast Trail Association, annual donation $5,000. Farrell Excavating Limited for culvert replacements project 2024, $12,683.49. Fundamental Inc. for the community greenhouse gas inventories in the amount of $10,557. GFL Environmental March garbage and recycling collection in the amount of $62,695.38. GFL Environmental for the April garbage and recycling collection in the amount of $64,771.07. Receiver General of Canada, the payroll remittance in the amount of $40,330.05. Stantec Consulting Limited, municipal plan review, $23,900.74. Triware for IT support in the amount of $5,750. And Triware again for their server warranty care in the amount of $5,681, all totaling $231,368.73. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Addition there, Councillor Pollard?
Hmm?
The addition?
I'll put that in now, second motion. Only
Discussion?
because I can't add that quickly to add it on to the amount. See?
I thought you might have it done.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
There's one more invoice that came in, and it relates to the purchase of the wheel loader, which was a budgeted item, and the approval of the invoice to Brent Tractor Limited. So I move that we pay Brent Tractor Limited for the purchase of the 2025 John Deere 624P wheel loader in the amount of $581,413.55. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Can I ask a question? Is this as per the canoe procurement?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to double check. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The last motion up here relates to donation we do every year for the cap and gown ceremony for Holy Trinity High
I have a
School.
conflict of interest.
You do.
My daughter's graduating this year, so I have a conflict on this one. Let's
So have
step
to
away.
defer.
Sorry.
Yeah, they have deferred. And that goes back to my comment earlier. I don't think things that they should be considered conflict, but anyway, that's fine.
It's a
We'll
financial
clarify.
donation that
I
would
understand.
impact the
I understand where you're
costs,
coming from. I'm just
So I
saying.
can't vote on that.
I'm just saying, I understand. Just, I think there's something wrong with the way we interpret, or the way that whole act is written in terms of conflict of interest. Nothing personal, just saying.
Deferred.
Amen.
Okay.
It's an impairment to operations, let's put it that way.
All right, deferred. What's next?
Can I ask for one thing?
Sorry.
Okay.
Resolve that Town of Torbay approve donation of $500 to Torbay Pathfinders for the East Coast Trailways are taking place June 7th, 2025. So moved.
Second.
Now, talking about interest, I'm on that team. And it's probably, Councillor Pollard, you might be on that team too. So
Not yet, not yet.
therefore, well, I'm not registered yet either.
So you're not.
If your
I know.
intention
You're
is
not
to
on.
be on it, though, there's the
I know,
financial
but
component.
all I'm saying is that that's an
There's no gain to you on it.
No,
That's
it's
foolish.
for the East Coast Trail, so therein lies the concern with this, right?
But there's no rush anyway, you know.
Was that,
Donate whatever.
that item was budgeted, wasn't it?
Yes. It normally goes to the
The CEO's got
FMA.
enough, the CEO's got enough power to approve that anyway. No matter it comes to us, but anyway, that's fine.
Okay, anyway, so that one is, again,
All those items that have been deferred were budgeted items in the budget.
We bring it back next time anyway.
okay, rather than,
So,
Just to, it doesn't go towards the team, it goes
That's right.
to the East Coast Trail Association, but, yeah, just mentioning that.
yeah,
Thanks
I
for
understand, so that's something, Mark, we can follow up on. All right, thank you. So that's it?
I'm done, your worship, guys, thank you.
Could I just-
Thank
Oh,
you.
go ahead,
Sure.
Councillor Tapper, then I'll.
Could I just mention one thing? I had a phone call and a follow-up email from Councillor Brian Waterman down in Flat Rock, town of Flat Rock. They have a committee in place to help fundraise for the Grotto down in Flat Rock. Is getting a little bit in disrepair and that sort of thing. So he just wanted me to mention it, you know, and I'll bring this forward at Corporate Services Committee meeting as well. But, you know, I know it may be outside of our mandate, but I'll send it forward anyway. So, and again, if anybody wants to donate on their own, they're having a fundraiser on June the 14th, so
Okay,
just note that.
thank you.
Good
Now-
evening. Yeah, just a note, Councillor Pollard, for the items that we left in the package unread around payroll, check register, accounts payable, there are significant amounts of money. And I think if we just had a proclamation around inclusion, I think it's really important to read it into the register. There are significant amounts of money. If somebody is blind and isn't able to read it, at least they have the accessibility to understand what we spent. I've been a bit of a stickler about this on this report, making sure that we're reading in those sums of money. So I don't know how you feel about it, but I would ask that gets read into the record, if we could, please.
No problem. Payroll process, May 8th, 2020, May 8th to the 21st, 2025. Regular payroll for 53 employees for the 2-week period ended was $122,742.36. Payroll for the period May 8th to the 20th, 25. Total 100 checks in the amount of $238,158.97. Accounts payable invoices processed for the period May 8th to the 20th, 2025. 249 invoices in total in the amount of $349,177.51. And that's voted.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, economic development, tourism, history, and culture. Councillor Tappan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Our committee met on Tuesday, May the 20th, bright and early at 9 a.m. The items discussed, first off, the History House name change. There's a motion here on this. The History House Advisory Committee met on this as well. So the motion is the committee with the agreement, the Economic Development Committee recommends changing the official name of History House from Torbay History House and Museum to Torbay History House. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Quick question. What cost is it going to be to the town for the name change, materials, marketing? Have we done an analysis of what that cost might be incurred?
Well, initially, you know, because it's only removing, you know, the museum word, with, you know, letterhead and that sort of thing, just to change. It shouldn't cost that much. I don't know the number, but, you know, it is only a slight change, really.
Yeah.
And we're doing it because the museum word, you know, the provincial government has,
Restricts us from funding.
yeah, they restrict us now from getting any funds if we use that word. So, you know, that's the main idea, is to enable us to get more money. you know,
Yeah.
So,
Oh, no, I support it, and I know that we've
Yeah.
had conversations, I believe, around this table as well about opening up other opportunities. I think it was through ACOA, there were conversations around that as well. I'm not against the change. I'm just curious if we had done the analysis of what the cost would be for the name change. That's all.
The
Thank you.
director is not here tonight, however, you know, I agree with Councillor Tapper. It shouldn't be significant, however, I will get the director to provide some information on that and send it up to council.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Can we bring I have no problem with the motion going forward, but just can we bring the Torbay History House back to committee of the whole for further discussion as well? Just so I get my own thoughts there. But it's
Okay,
privately first.
another. Okay, okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
So, item B, proposal for History House Annex. We're currently analyzing this proposal, gathering letters of support from various groups and other Killy Coast communities. We will finalize and submit a proposal to ACOA by June the 30th. And This, I guess, comes into a discussion we had because we did receive a substantial donation from a private person that for the to go towards the History House and including the annex. So this project now, and our director has already applied to ACOA for a top-up to support this as well. So hopefully we'll get enough overall to have no trouble supporting the annex when it gets constructed. C, electric vehicle study, joint initiative with Portugal Cove St. Phillips. And again, our director, Kerry, has been working side by side with Portugal Cove St. Phillips, and because we brought this to the table now on a few levels for Public Works.
made the comment earlier when with Brian.
Yes. So economic development did get funding for it, but the actual study falls under infrastructure public works.
Yeah.
But Kerry is still involved in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where I heard
Yeah.
it talked about before, so
Yeah.
just to touch base with that, okay?
So, yeah, there's some more information there with joint meetings with Portugal Cove St. Phillips. Marketing and Communications Summer Guide has been distributed and is available online. Primary focus is on developing and creating content for the webpage, online training to be completed over the next 4 years on developing, writing, and managing content. The History House maintenance is completing ongoing work on the grounds of the History House, which are looking good. I'm sure if you drove by, they're in good shape right now. So the ongoing planning for summer events, including a multicultural event and Pride in July, details will be made available when finalized. The Cemetery Committee will be holding their monthly meetings at History House going forward. I just want to mention too, if you've seen, again, driving by any cemetery now in Torbay, they've done a great job cleaning up. Congratulations and thank you to the committee, because it is hard work, as you know. And a local daycare has inquired about having a field trip to History House. Similar to schools, we need to have further discussion around our ability and capacity to accommodate such visits. So that's something we really got to be careful with, because there are many daycares in Torbay, so if we let the door open, we might be sorry. Marketing and communications, yes, okay, I covered that. I just want to mention one thing. Back in January of 2024, Council passed a resolution. It's Resolution -28-2024. And it says, resolved that the town of Torbay establish a voluntary committee to administer funds donated to the municipality for the creation of a memorial to the victims of the 1974 Bradbury fire in accordance with the policies and regulations of the town of Torbay as presented. That was approved by council back in January 2024. Since then, we've received donations through various means to go towards a Bradbury memorial. The History House Advisory Committee has discussed this as well, and we have just recently set up a committee, a resident committee, with 3 people, including a member from the Bradbury family, actually a survivor of that fire, on that committee, so going forward. And we are still looking to, for various reasons, last year, for the 50th anniversary of that tragedy, there was another death in the family that same week. We were planning a celebration. So we want to move forward with this again now, and there are potential other funds may come through. So with this committee in place now, we are abiding by the wish of council. So I just wanted to report that for the record.
Do we need a motion for that?
Well, the motion was already passed.
Okay,
Yeah.
just to set it up,
Yeah.
okay.
One other thing, last Thursday, myself and manager Donna visited Dr. John Mannion and his wife at their home. Before Noah left and Donna took over, they had talks with the Mannions as well, talking about the collection moving to the History House, the cards, the massive set of cards that they built this collection on. So myself and Donna did a follow-up meeting on Thursday, and now the Mannions are ready to sign off on a deed of conveyance. We left them with a copy, and they wanted at least a week to read it and have a study of it. But they have no problem now signing off on moving the collection to the History House. We do have room for it in the upstairs genealogy room. So, and we are going to update the Mannion website as well, because we've got money received from both provincial and federal. I think the amount is $80,000, so we're going to move on that as well. So, and we're going to, at least, if we get this collection, and it will come sooner than later, then we could set up a proper genealogy room with computer equipment and that sort of thing. So, but that's good news on the
That's awesome
Mannion
news.
front. Yeah. So I don't think there's anything else. If there's any questions?
Just on the letter of conveyance and our responsibilities thereunder, what are we undertaking to do, or do we require any special containers or holding rooms or anything for the collection itself? Because once it's transferred to us, obviously there's gonna be some requirement on us to maintain the records for a period of time or in such and such a condition. I just wanna make sure that we're covered from that perspective, because if we happen to lose them the day after they come this way, not saying we will, I'm just looking at the eventuality, what our responsibilities are around that. So we just don't take it and put it in the genealogy room, someone breaks in and everything's gone. Just,
Yeah. Well, there's no particular value on the collection itself. You know, obviously they spent a lot of time doing research on this, and you know, there's 100,000 or more cards.
yeah.
So, you know, it is, but that's a good question. I'll bring it back and we'll try to get it answered. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Can I ask a few questions?
Mm-hmm.
So for the Bradbury Memorial, thank you, Councillor Tapper, for bringing that forward. I don't see it in the package, though. I don't see the motion when it was passed in January or any of the information about it in the package. Did I miss it?
It was in the package in 2024. Actually,
Yes.
I came across it at our last council meeting because I just went down through the business arising,
Business arising.
Oh,
and it was in that, so.
But
yeah.
what I'm going to ask
Yeah.
is that gets added to the package. There was an update on the Bradbury file. There was also an update that there's been a committee struck about it of 3 people. Was there a call for interest of
Mm-hmm. No.
people who want to participate?
No.
So the question then comes back to, for the History House Committee, it's been reworked so that, and I did vote for this, not understanding at the time the way I do now, but the policy actually states that people can be appointed. There is no further call for interest of people at that, as I read and understand the policy as it is now. There's also a committee struck here with a motion that council created that hasn't put a call out to the community. So I would ask that committee go back and have a look at how we're engaging with people in the community, provide fair and equal opportunity to participate. I also think that it's a great idea to bring children in the daycares to the History House. If it's there, if it's a town asset, and if there's a way to engage children at a very young age to have an interest in history and culture and experiencing and getting familiar with that space, I think that's absolutely brilliant, so thank you for sharing that. The other thing I wanted to note in here is that it talks about the History House report, And again, we've had this conversation about where this comes up in the package. This falls under Recreation Community Services, and it does have an update in there. The update is that we did take it to committee. We did look at it. There is a price associated with moving forward, but our recommendation was to redirect that for further discussion to finance because
What are you referring to now?
on page 3 of 5 of the history, Town of Torbay History House update here, date May 20th, 2025, there's a line item here that says Torbay History House Report. The maintenance team came and started work on the grounds for the summer. The salt boxes are in, but you come down further here. There's a reference to Danny on that. Where is it?
Pending museum repairs, that one?
It's in there. And I just read it. I just want to make sure that there's clear communication on this. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Pending museum repairs, I request an update from Danny and Jen on timelines for the following. Barry in front of the furnace in the basement. Barry has been in boxes near the furnace. This is something I think that we really need to address. There's communication, as was established in the last meeting, between the departments on this file. Requesting an update on timelines when we as committee who are reviewing facilities have decided that we're redirecting this to another committee. So this update is not available to be provided, and I think that it's confusing for the people in the public if they're looking at that saying, well, did Danny or Jen provide the timelines? If you come down to the package under Recreation and Community Services, we'll see in here that it actually states that we reviewed that under item 2A, and the committee reviewed the quote that was provided from Gibbons Snow Architects and requested it to be forwarded to the Corporate Services Committee for review and comments. So Jen and Danny are unable to provide a timeline on this at this point because we just received that quote. So I think for clarity on this, I think we allow the engagement as we know is happening across the departments, and we report this in one space so there's no communication errors with the public around what's happening. I think that's really important. So just putting that back there for consideration. And the last thing that I wanted to note was back to Councillor Pollard's point earlier. My understanding is there's been a discussion at this table about exploring the models for History House and how it should work. I don't know where it stands at this point, but I do think that's an important discussion for us to put back on the table to Councillor Pollard's point. So if we can get an update on where that is, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, so that's it for your report?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Recreation Community Services? Oh, Infrastructure and Public Works. Getting too excited?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You're welcome.
All right, myself, Councillor Manning, and the Infrastructure and Public Works Director met on May 20th at 8 a.m. We discussed the trails and received an update from Brian about what's happening with the trails. The Canada Community Building Fund, the gas tax projects for 2025. The consulting portion of the project has been awarded to Englobe Corp. They are working on the documentation and will begin street assessments over the next few weeks with a plan to have a tender ready in June. The budget for the project is $1,128,544. New projects for 2025, depot yard paving, sewer pipe repairs on the Balian Line, valve replacement at Flemings Hill and Torbay Road, Thorns Lane Pump House Project, and the Tyndale Drive Pump House Project, which are ongoing. The panel replacement at the lift station at 216 Marine Drive was discussed. The contract has been awarded to Chale Technical Services. Required document is being gathered. A timeline for the project is being worked on. The budget for this project is $65,000. The contract was awarded for $31,045.58. There are a few other items to do with the station in relation to the project, so we're expecting to use the remaining budget that's there. Water distribution model project. So the consulting portion of the project has been awarded to Englobe Corp. They're working on documentation and will begin to work over the next few weeks. The project has a predetermined timeline with key milestones to be met and the project being completed by the end of the summer. And the budget is $100,000. Patch paving 2025. The contract has been awarded to H&M Paving, required documentation is being gathered. The patch paving project will be ongoing throughout the summer. The budget for this project comes from the annual roads maintenance budget. We normally spend about $100,000 on patch paving. So the total cost of the project may increase as areas are selected, but we'll keep council informed. And all work will be completed under the unit prices provided. Lime painting project. The contract has been awarded to Tough Coat. Required documentation is being gathered. The lime painting project will start as soon as the weather permits and will take 3 to 4 weeks depending on weather. The budget is $24,000. What else we got here? The carry forwards for the Canada Community Building gas tax projects. So the safety lights across the way are being worked at. The project has been awarded. Work started on the 20th of May. The budget for that is $197,283. With current pricing, we're around $27,000 below budget. Abutments and culvert replacements. For each of those, they are fairly completed. There's a few things left to be done there, but as far as it stands right now, the one at Woodfines Lane and Moores Valley Road is looking to be coming in around $22,000 below budget. Projects for 2024 carried forward. The gate enclosure at the depot is complete. I won't read all of those out. Sewer study, the wetlands. So Department Infrastructure and Public Works noted that the director met with Water Resource Management Division, Transport Canada, and Environmental Climate Change Canada to discuss the project. The director, sorry, Brian. The Director of Infrastructure and Public Works noted that he now has a draft wastewater feasibility study RFP back from Municipal Affairs. He's going to be reviewing that and hoping to have it out to tender early in June. The RFP will look at possible options for the town's water requirements, wastewater requirements. So there's some updates here on the multi-year capital works projects. The Common Generator Fund, Common Generator Project, the funding arrangement's 50-50. Project has been awarded to Cal Services. A kickoff meeting was held May 21st. A schedule of work will be provided over the next week or so. The budget for this project is $385,054.79. With current pricing, we're looking to be around $25,000 below budget. Stormwater mitigation, again, it's looking at the sites that we're working on. So Bridge Road, White Waste Pond Brook, The Gully, and Rattling Brook Drive. Brian's been meeting with property owners in those areas to move things forward. Project deadline has been extended to January 2026. The draft tender is now being removed. The budget is $1,432,775.28. What else do we have here? Wastewater North Pond update. So, exciting news happening in here. There's $2,012,994 of this cost. We had put some money in looking for that. And the application was submitted for funding for the total amount of the third phase. In bold, we received notification that we have moved to the next stage in this funding application. So it's not guaranteed yet that we're going to get that $2 million plus, but as it stands right now, we're through the first gate, and things are looking good at this point. So fingers and toes are crossed that we will get that money, and that goes through FCM funding as well. Let me see what else we have here. Land acquisition has started for the water treatment facility. So Brian's on that. We do have a change order request though for North Pond. The Department of Environmental Climate Change, as a part of the RFP process, is requesting that WSPEI Canada Limited undertake a review of the 2019 Sustainable Yield Study in light of the available flow data and the data the town has provided with respect to measured water elevations on the pond over the past several years. The estimated levels of effort and costs are attached. We reviewed this at committee and we agreed to bring forward a motion. So the motion reads, Motion to approve change order number 1 for the North Pond Water Treatment Project number 17-GI-23-003. The value of this change order is $30,829.20, HST inclusive. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The Great Pond Water Study, it was in the planning package that the meeting had happened with the residents. So again, thank you for your work on that. There, $26 million was approved for the project, and we're working, as was mentioned by the Director of Finance, for the other 25% for the project. So that update has come forward. Wastewater testing and requirements, we continue to monitor. The other items, purchase of a new rubber tire backhoe. We talked about that. Did we just do that one? That one was just done, wasn't it? Yeah, sweet.
No, that was the loader.
That's the loader. Okay, so is this the one that's gonna come forward in August, Brian?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, do you wanna speak to that for a minute?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, so this is the rubber, this is approved under the budget, 2025 budget. But like I said, price came in a little higher than we expected. So in discussion with the Director of Corporate Services to obtain some savings through the year for not doing payments, I guess, from March to August, something along those lines. That we have enough savings by the end of August to make the purchase without having to go over budget. I believe that's the right way to term it. I'll let the Director of Corporate Service talk about the money side.
Part of the issue for the deferral is because we had to buy the loader earlier in the year due to pricing pressures and with tariffs in the U.S. dollar, we were sort of forced into purchasing the loader a few months earlier, which would increase our cost of financing over the year. So to offset that increased cost on the loader, we've decided, working together, that we would defer the purchase of the backhoe until end of the summer with delivery in the fall to offset some of that increased costing. So hopefully at the end of the year, it works itself out with minimal impact to the budget.
Thank you, directors, for the explanation. You said it much better than I could have. Appreciate the clarification. The next item on the agenda here is the Municipal Enforcement Officer reports and patrols. So we had received some incident reports around ATVs on roads and some of the trails. There was another issue with relation to responding to barking dogs in the Pine Ridge area. The municipal enforcement hours are now from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. We also discussed the weekend field party that made the VOCM website that occurred on land around the depot area. The director noted that he had asked the municipal enforcement officers to monitor the area because he had noticed some activity on Friday. The municipal enforcement officers were on site at 9:30 p.m. Saturday, where they witnessed some youth being dropped off. They left the site and continued with patrols. Committee agrees that this is a policing issue and it will be discussed at the Community Services Committee, so we'll talk about that at the next report update. But we wanted to bring some attention to this and having police presence when these parties are happening. So there was a party, it did happen in there, it did end up on the news. Parents in the community were quite concerned because the understanding that I have is that these are not Torbay children who are organizing these parties and planning them, but they are happening in the town of Torbay. And the concern from the parents were, we don't want our children to be accused of the violence, really. There was reports of stabbing and spraying, I believe, of mace or bear spray or something that was in the news around it. So I think it's important that we are aware of this. I think when we talked about this at committee, we asked that the municipal enforcement officers would be paying attention to that. Thank you, Brian, to you and your staff for being aware and paying attention to the activity in the space. We also asked that the municipal enforcement officers call the police and report anything that they see happening in that area so that the police can take over and deal with that. If there's, something happening in a field party that should not be happening, it's not within the jurisdiction of the town. it's within the jurisdiction of the police and they have to handle that. There was a request, an email that was received asking that we bar off the road. It's a public road, so we're not able to bar it off. There was also a response about looking at a discussion at committee around, making changes to the fence. That's a cost incurred for taxpayers, but where the entry point seems to be, even if we did extend that fence, it's not understood, it wasn't understood during a committee discussion that would deter what's happening. So instead of making changes from an infrastructure public works perspective at this point with that, what we're asking is that the municipal enforcement officers who report to Brian make sure that they're in those areas to keep an eye during their patrols if something is happening, to report to the RNC so they can take action about it. And the other thing that we talked about was sharing information around what's happening with these things with the RNC, of putting it out to make sure that that's getting the community.
Can I ask a question, if I could?
You can, yeah, sure.
These parties have been ongoing for years in the town. An unfortunate result was that the town had to go in and clean up after them. Can I ask, Director, how about this one? Was there a mess? And did we have to pick it up?
Not really,
Not really.
and no.
There were no reports of a
No,
mess?
I actually went over on the site myself
good,
on the
okay.
following Monday.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of stuff there, but nothing serious. I was quite surprised when I walked in there and there was no cans of any, nil, zilch,
Good.
no bottles. I would have figured there'd be a lot of bottles. So I think they went back and, some went back and cleaned it up, I think.
Some of them had sense.
There was still like a tarpaulin over a structure and stuff like that there, but that was sort of minor. I did learn, no, I'll tell you this one after the meeting. I learned a new term, but no, it wasn't that bad. Like I say, I mean, it was over the way they go in there. It's almost impossible for stopping them from going in there. And as the Councillor Appleby said, this party in particular was from schools from outside of town, and not saying that our school kids don't have parties, but not necessarily up there. Yeah, it just seemed to get out of hand, because there seems to be a party up there every couple weekends, and just that when it gets one or two schools come together, and like everybody, I guess they have disagreements and stuff like that.
My experience, my personal experience, I've read this in the paper. Friends of mine from St. John's had a child who was staying over at their house within the last 2 years. They contacted me as a counselor and said, we have a concern. There was a child that was hanging out with our son who went to this thing. We had to call the parents because the kid was staying over that night, and they had to take that child to the Janeway with, again, I think my recollection is stab wounds, I believe. So these are serious things that are happening in our community, and although we don't have, the ability to police that, and my understanding, Brian, from the committee discussion was this is happening on private land as well. This is not Town of Torbay property, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah. So, within our abilities, we can educate, we can share information, we can engage the RNC, and do the best that we can on it. So, at that level, that's where we are right now with this issue, but always open to receiving information from anyone in the public who has thoughts about this. We're more than happy to listen and see if there's anything else that they can come up with. Municipal, so we touched on that, sorry.
Can I, before you move on, I just
Yeah, sure.
one comment in here. And that's with regards to the MEO hours. And I'm thinking about on weekends, because I know that it used to be different when we have these type of things going on, and especially during the summer, different areas. And I'm just wondering if it's possible to have committee, yourself, Brian, to look at the hours. And, because during the summer, and then I'll just bring it up again from observation, that the 8 a.m. in the morning to 1, because it's usually in the afternoon. I know that the issues with the quads and the bikes and everything comes out, and then it's much later. And we used to have it at one time that it'd be later on weekends, so to keep an eye on things, and even people's own homes where a lot of activities takes place. So if you could just keep that in mind, thanks.
Yep, we can certainly
right.
take that back to committee and have a discussion about that.
Okay, thank you.
Spring bulk garbage collection. So, the collection was scheduled for the 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. This same format as past years with a community cleanup and a barbecue on the 24th. The 24th, as I recall, was a pretty rainy day. So I wasn't able to participate, but thank you for making that happen to the volunteers and the staff that were there. Committee discussed curbside pickups and the cost compared to drop-off. The the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works will pull together some numbers. So there was a conversation happening about that. People were very enraged on Facebook about having to pay $25 for the pickup. I believe I mentioned this in the last meeting, but I'll do it again now just to be sure that people know. The $25 is a nominal fee that is there for anyone who doesn't have access to a truck or the ability to bring their bulk garbage to the depot. What we've asked the director to look at is how many people are taking advantage of this? How much are we actually costing taxpayers? I can tell you, for me, someone who doesn't have access to a truck, the ability to pay $25 to be able to have my items picked up and brought over to the bulk garbage, it would be a great solution for me personally. But again, as I just said, we don't get elected and become, all-knowing of all things. This is where the community feedback and conversation is important. It's really important to have people come and join us in the chamber, but also, connect with us to have these conversations. So we're gonna have the director look at those numbers, see what that looks like, and then we'll include that in the package go forward. Flow meter numbers, they've remained between 1,300 and 1,400 cubic meters a day. The asset management and infrastructure mapping overview and update. I know Councillor Pollard asked about this in the last package. We had a fabulous presentation by Patrick Butt about the work that they're doing around mapping the assets that we have here in the community. It looks fabulous. Committee had made a recommendation that it comes to committee of the whole, so that committee of the whole can actually see what he can do in real time. It's brilliant. And there was further conversations in that meeting as well about creating dashboards that could actually be publicly available so residents can go in there and have a look and get an understanding of what's going on. It seems that the director is over there looking to share something about this, so I'm gonna just give him the floor for a minute. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, yeah. So I was actually down speaking with the town clerk this morning, and we're gonna have Patrick come in on this for the 16th committee of the whole meeting.
Sweet.
So he's gonna do we're doing a project update at that point on.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna come in and just do a presentation on that for the first 20 minutes or so, and if you've got any questions and stuff like that. And by that time, we'll have, right now, like I said, we got different things that we're doing with it, but we'll have more stuff in it. We have information from our worker account as well come forward in it, so it'll be some good information for everybody for sure.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you. It's very impressive. And it's really important that the public understand these are investments. When we're looking at building applications or planning in the community and how do we do what, you can look in the click of a button what's where and have that information readily available to you. And it's current and up to date. As long as there's someone that continues to keep that information updated, it's absolutely brilliant. So thank you for your work on that. Looking forward to seeing that at Committee of the Whole. Recycling education, that's standing item with information there. The funding has now been received and the final report is submitted. Just want to make sure that it's noted. All the recycling communication has been funded and paid for. Traffic calming. I know I'm getting calls, and members of council, I'm sure, getting calls as well about concerns about ATVs in the community. I want to thank the RNC for the work that they have done recently to capture people who have been participating in illegal activities. And as well, there was an article on I believe it was VOCM again, where a child was actually injured because of ATV activities, and I believe the parent and the child were charged. So just to exercise caution to families that this is a real issue in the community. Traffic calming, kids are going to be getting out of school soon, they're going to be on their bikes, they're going to be out driving, they're going to be doing their thing. Slow down, watch out for young people, and please be safe. And there's an update here about what's ongoing with the data collection, and we are actively working through this, and now with the spring coming. Action tracking and standing items are there, and our next committee meeting is on the 3rd of June. If there are any additional questions, I'm more than happy to take them or redirect them to the director. Thank you.
Any questions?
Can I just follow up on that incident on Bali Line?
Yeah.
I don't know who the people are, who the child was, but I did mention it at our last council meeting, the incident. And what really bugged me after, and I heard, over the course of a few days, that those kids, I think it was more than one on the quads, they went back and forth on Bowling Line through the night, just tormenting the parents who lived in that home, because they had, when they made it public through VOCM. So that's what they're dealing with. And, hopefully it'll be a lesson learned by other kids as well, and parents, of course. So, kudos to the RNC.
I think it's really important that the RNC is sharing what's happening. It's out there in the public, people can see, they know they're in the community. And I think that it's really important that parents understand as well. Not only is the child, culpable, but as well the parents can be. So we need to be very, we need to be very aware of this. We need to be working with our municipal enforcement officers, and we need to make sure that we continue to coordinate and collaborate for the Safer Communities conversation that we're having in my next update. The director put his hand up, so if I could acknowledge him before
Yeah,
we
sort
finish.
of chime in again, but
okay.
I know most of you guys were here, and where I live close by, I got to watch the evening news this afternoon, or after supper, and NTV had a really good piece on about that, and that was the main message that was coming forward, was that the RNC is going after the parents. Like, they're not going to stop that, right? So that should hit home on most people, but obviously not in the one that Councillor Tapper was talking about.
So, and the last point I'll make on this is we've had all kinds of conversations around safety when it comes to pedestrian safety and the use of these vehicles. But it often comes back to the parents who are giving these children their gassed up machines to make sure that they're, counseling their children, holding them to account. And I did look at the legislation myself, and it did say that unaccompanied children from 14, I think, to 16 it is, could be ticketed if they're operating that vehicle without a parent there. So lots of discussion on that, and I think it's very important that, it just shows the good work that's happening with the RNC and the community to try to address these issues. So ends my report, if there are any other questions.
Thank you, Councillor Appleby. Now on to Recreation Community Services.
All right.
And in the absence of Councillor Manning, it's back to you.
Thank you. And just my last word, thank you, Director. You came back and you were very, very busy with your department for me to take that long to offer our report tonight. Thank you to you and your team for all the work that you've done there. Okay, so Recreation Community Services, that meeting happened on Wednesday, May 21st at 8 a.m. at the Common Boardroom. Myself, Councillor Manning, and our Director, Jen Martin, were there and participated. There was an update on the Summer Guide registration. So the Summer Guide is available online and at all facilities. Registration for all summer programs and events is ongoing and will be open to non-residents on May 28th. A Time in Torbay update. So there was substantial conversation about the Time in Torbay at the last council meeting. We revisited this discussion when the committee met. We looked at the promotional plan that was developed by the Marketing and Communications Officer for that weekend, and great work, Cameron. Thanks for the work you did on that. It was fabulous. We discussed the reallocation conversation for the concert, and we requested further information be provided to council. So after our committee meeting happened that Wednesday, we asked the director to draft an email and send it to all of council so council could review the conversation, understand what we had there, and ask questions before we came here tonight for a decision on this. The committee is still recommending reallocating money to allow the event to have the Irish Descendants and Rum Ragged, as committee feels these bands will allow Torbay to have the most attractive event in the region. The committee has provided 3 different options of where the money could be reallocated, although we only have one motion in this package. So we did do some fairly substantive conversations and exploration to try to figure out where that could come from. So what I'll do is I will get into the motion at this point and we can have a discussion about it. The motion is, committee recommends reallocating $5,000 from GL 5463-6540 Special Initiatives to GL 5256-6550, a time in Torbay. So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
So I think I'll kick off if it's okay. The conversation that we had at committee was looking at trying to make a time in Torbay competitive, an experience where, you know, people can get out and enjoy and have a good time. These are very well-known bands. They often draw a crowd. I did look it up in the committee meeting. There's actually the George Street Festival that we are competing with that evening. We don't know what that act will be yet, but I'm sure the George Street Festival always has amazing acts. This year, I don't expect to be any different. Alone this summer, there's Iceberg Alley. There's 2 concerts that are advertised now for the Churchill Park events that they have down there as well. This is a time where people are not flush with a whole lot of cash and have to make decisions about where they're putting their money. We also received an email not that long ago from someone that said, I'm really disappointed. You know, the Hillsides Festival and all the parties and all the festivities that the community used to have doesn't seem to be happening the same way anymore. And you know, when I think about my years in Torbay, I remember hearing about the Great Big Sea concert. I wasn't there for that one, but I was aware of it. I also participated and was a part of the original Time in Torbay committee for the first 2 years that it existed. And we brought in big acts to draw people. This is not just going to draw people from the town of Torbay. This is going to be people who are looking to come here, making it a destination. So we're doing all this work around tourism to bring people into beautiful Torbay, experience Torbay. What better way to get people in our community than have a great event to show off our great infrastructure, host it, bring them in so they can spend their money here and they can experience Torbay. The other thing, when we looked at the pricing and the conversation around this, the conversation Councillor Pollard brought up in the last meeting was, well, if we're not having this account happen and we're going to have lost revenue here, how can we offset that? So committee had this discussion. We looked at how many people the bands thought they could pull, how many, you know, even conservatively, if we look at that, the ability to look at offsetting some of the costs that we would have lost in other spaces was a conversation that we had. And the director broke that out and sent it in an email that went around. So I contest, still do, and did then, that bringing the Irish Descendants and Rum Ragged into the town of Torbay will benefit the people of the town of Torbay. They can have a great time here, enjoy the adult party. It'll be a great opportunity for us to compete with other acts that are happening, make sure that there's a great festivity here for the town of Torbay's annual, incorporation ceremony. And there are other items that are being planned other than this. It's not just this, but this is one of the pieces. So I'll open the floor to discussion on it and see where council wants to go. But the last point I'll make is when the director went back and spoke to the bands, they held this space for us. And we want to make sure that we're considering the fact that they could have taken other things. They did not. They stuck in there to work with us to see if we could figure out a solution here. So we have the financial part understood at this point. The question is council going to support acts like these here in our town to get people out? Thank you.
Yeah, my main concern last time was that the information that was presented wasn't, from a financial perspective, wasn't as clear as the movement of dollars from one to another based on an expense account alone. This time seems to be all right, and I did send it back to our Director of Corporate Services, David, as well, to take a look at it and make sure that the dollars were fine. So I'm fine with it. I mean, I can't really comment on the bands. I've seen both of them, and I do really like both of them. I hope they can draw the crowd that we certainly wish, and I guess time will tell, really. So, but I'm fine with the $5 grand.
Councillor Tapper?
I'm going to vote in favor of the motion, but just a comment. You know, it was great because, again, these events have been in Torbay for decades now, and they usually all went over well, you know. But more recently, there's other events in Torbay on a smaller scale that bring local people, especially, out on a Sunday afternoon or whatever. And I really think next budget year, we really should consider who we're, funneling our money to, the bigger acts or the smaller acts. For years, some of the smaller acts never even charged the town of Torbay for their entertainment. And, you know, it's sad to say that's starting, in my book, starting to dwindle, you know? But I think that should be taken into account. And like I saw Rum Ragged last weekend in Norris Point for the Trails, Tales and Tunes. I know Aaron Callis since he was 14, but they're a great band and they will attract. But they're not a dancing band, but the other one is, you know, good traditional music. So I think between the two of them, they will attract a lot of people to Torbay.
Okay, I'd just like for you to take over as chair, because I've got a couple of questions on that as well.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 minutes each.
Okay. All right, I had a couple of questions. I guess with regards to these special initiatives, is there anything else that was planned for the remainder of the year to come out of the special initiatives budget? And I don't know if that's probably Jen that I should be talking to about that?
Yeah, that was for different things: age-friendly, the action plan, the assessment, some of the safe action plan, community plan, and the inclusion plan. We've had savings so far, mostly due to the safe action community plan stuff has been free from a lot of partner organizations. We had a lot of lunch and learns that we haven't had to pay for. We haven't spent anything yet on the age-friendly action plan because that's still in process, which was paid for last year. So there will be some money spent the rest of the year, but we should be able to free up that $5,000 out of the 20.
Wanted to make the comment and make sure that it's in there. I don't want to see, I guess, the age-friendly in any way be negatively impacted. And the big one that I wouldn't want to see, and that's the seniors' Christmas. And I just wanted to put that out there so that won't be negatively impacted. And the other question, one of the other questions is, do you have a number of tickets in mind to break even? And I guess that even became obvious because I know when Councillor Appleby mentioned about the other events taking place at the same time, at that price, if, you know, there's a certain amount, because in the past, what generally happened, this is one of the questions too, is that there would be a reduced price if you purchase the tickets, say a week before or a couple of days before the event. So that would be an incentive for people to get their tickets early and as well to save a few dollars. Because it is, I guess when you're looking at $34 a ticket, then every dollar counts. So is that the plan, to sell them before at a reduced cost? Because
I'll speak to that.
that's,
We did not discuss having reduced costs for these bands. To get to see these two bands for $34.90, that's a great deal. The conversation was exactly, how do we make sure if there's concerns about losing revenue on sports camp and, you know, investing and reallocating this money, how do we make sure that we're ready for that? So, Deputy Mayor, we actually did look at, if we sold X amount, I think it was 200 and then 300, we rolled it out at that price, how much revenue. And our lovely director did up the tickets for the bar as well, and it reserved only 2 drinks per person at that point for those numbers that we have. So they're very conservative numbers, and it did show the revenues that we would have there.
okay, so we would then, if there were 200, we would break even basically at that price? Is
We,
that what?
we would be fine, and the thing is, it boils down to who the acts are. I mean, you know, back to Councillor Tapper's point, these two bands are going to draw different people. Some people are going to want to see the Irish Descendants, and they're going to be waiting for Con to be doing his tongue twisters, you know. Some people are going to be there to see Rum Ragged and what they do, and as they work together, I saw them both play together.
I've seen them play, but I guess what my question was like, look at what the number of tickets we would need to sell, because if you're not going to get into the gym, and I'm just asking this before we go ahead, to finalize the numbers, if there was a number that would, you know, be worth having them, or would we end up basically, as it got down closer, having to say, reschedule or do anything else with it?
So respectfully, Madam Chair, I was responding to your question before I was interrupted. I would ask to be able to hold the floor when I'm speaking.
I asked the
And
question,
in
that's all.
response to your question, I was providing the answer, that we did.
I wasn't hearing, that's why I
Okay,
went back
let's
to
move on.
Can I
reiterate it.
please
Let's move on.
speak?
Okay.
Thank you.
Um,
So the analysis was completed, it was shared and circulated with council, and the information's in your inbox.
So, again, I'll ask, how many tickets do we need to sell if it's broke down? Will 200 do it?
You're asking to break even on the event. What this motion is to reallocate
Well,
$5,000
I'm getting to the other
for
part
the
of that.
offset of the $5,000.
Yes. How come the amount changed from 7,000 at the last meeting down to 5? Is there a reduction in the cost?
The last reallocation would have went also to Bud Davidge and another act at the History House. I don't have 7,000 to free up from this jail, so that's why it's 5,000. And there is another option there too there's money left over in the volunteer recognition as well, if council were more comfortable taking from that as opposed to special initiatives. In regards to break even, it's a difficult question to ask, because if you're talking true costs without staffing costs and impacts like that, probably with bar sales, probably between 250, 300 people. But if you want to put in staff planning time, then obviously that number increases, which is more difficult to forecast.
Staff planning time would be included no matter what they're doing, unless it's overtime, so.
Okay, is that it for that item?
Mhm.
There's a
Okay,
motion.
there's a motion. I'm sorry.
So
Okay.
are we handing the chair back, or is Councillor Tepper doing it?
I can take it back.
Sure, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
All yours.
All
Good
in
luck.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned in the the History House report, the information was provided by Gibbons Snow Architects. The monies that were there to get the quote and information that we need to go to RFP for the work in the History House requires a certain amount of money that we don't have allocated in our budget. So we have directed that over to Corporate Services to take it under their agenda and work with the director to figure out where they can find those resources. And then we'll see where things go from there. But at this point, that's the action item and the update on where we are with the History House. The Safe Action Community Plan, we did talk about the field party under here as well. The director has been working with the RNC to talk about how we can have a safer community on a number of different levels. We felt that with the violence and with what happened with this field party, that this again would be something that we would like to speak to them about, see what resources they have to be in the area, to make sure that it's on their radar, and that if they do receive a call from our municipal enforcement officers or someone in the community, that they have resources that they can, apply and get out there. So again, with whatever resources that we have available through the municipality, we have done our best to do our due diligence to make sure that we're engaging partners, creating a safe environment here for people in the community, and trying to make sure that people understand these are not Town of Torbay parties, and we don't want to see things happening in our community where people are not safe. So making sure that we're connecting with the right partners to find ways to stop this. And the last bit is there were some questions around the sports camp revenue and expenses breakdowns for staffing. So the director has shared information about that. We did discuss it at the last committee meeting, and she shared that those staff would have been required for regular camp as it was. There's one position that was not hired, and this was an operational decision for the director, and she is within budget. So with that, if there's any additional questions or comments, I'm more than happy to entertain them.
All right, thank you. Next, we have liaison committees. Atlantic Mayors, no. Intergovernmental Affairs, no. Jack Byrne,
No,
It's a
nothing to
power.
report.
no. Northeast Avalon Joint Council, no. Newfoundland Constabulary, no. Volunteer Fire Department, no. Urban Municipalities, no. Not the last one, sorry, gone over too far. Okay. No notices of motion, so new business. I think it's back to Councillor Appleby.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So my thank you goes to Mark, because if it wasn't for Mark, I wouldn't be able to read tonight. He was kind enough to share his glasses with me so I could actually participate. I got here and went, oh, and I always have 2 pairs of glasses, but you know what? I didn't have any tonight. So Mark,
Sterilize them, Mark, sterilize them.
thank you. Black them out next time. Thank you for sharing your glasses with me, going to your office and getting them so I could participate. I really appreciate that. Oh, see, I tell you, I loves it. Flattery gets you everywhere
gotta
with
go
me.
here.
But I want to say thank you to you for that. Very appreciate it. I wanted to note that icebergs have arrived in our community. It's on Facebook, but you know, it's not always real until the
Look out the
Torbay Town
window.
Council tells you. It could be on my Facebook for the nights out, so everyone across Canada can see that we have our icebergs. It's really important to share that. We want people coming to our community, seeing how beautiful our beach is. The beach is my favorite place in the community. Love it with a passion. And to know that you can go down there, look out and see these icebergs, it's just fantastic. So everybody's welcome. Please come, spend your money when you come. Check out our icebergs. They are gorgeous. The FCM is happening this weekend coming. I want to wish the best to all of our friends and colleagues who are going to be there. I'm already receiving messages saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're not going to be here. However, my daughter is graduating this weekend and she is priority number 1. So, and that leads me to the congratulations for all of the children that are going to be participating in prom. Please be safe and please be responsible, and congratulations to all of you. I hope they have a wonderful weekend celebrating their graduation. And with that, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. I just have a couple of thank yous. Thank you to everyone that signed up for the cleanup in the community the weekend, but did it actually go ahead? Jen, Brian, people did get out and the barbecue and that went ahead? Did it have many?
It went ahead. There wasn't a lot of people there, but there was a nice few groups that had signed up. Some of the groups decided to do it on different dates, earlier the week, this week, but we had a good turnout. It's comparable to the last couple of years.
Okay. And you had good group up to the,
Yeah, we'll have the numbers for the actual drop-off for the next meeting.
excellent.
I don't have the numbers there. I think it was down a little because of rain and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like Jen said, like to pick up, we had groups that did stuff prior to that Gabriel's already picked up.
Yeah.
I was around on Saturday, myself, my daughter, and I think I picked up 2 bags, but it was rainy all morning, so.
So a big thank you to all of those people. And another big thank you to all of those, Councillor Tapper touched on it, that went out even in the rainy weather and actually did the first cut on the on the cemeteries overall, not one over the other. And to big thanks tonight for fellow councillors and staff and for the attendees down there, for your patience and that with me, seeing that it's been a while that I've done it, so I really appreciate everybody's patience and give me the extra little nudge or whisper when I needed it. So thank you for that. Do we have any questions come in or
I
anything?
don't have anything.
Do I have? Sandy? Just
do this, right? So first, I just want to thank everybody for the incredibly detailed and thoughtful work you do. I think if more people came and watched what was happening, they would be pretty grateful for just the sheer volume and the thoughtfulness around this. Thank you to the Directors of Public Work and Corporate Services for your very smart strategic decision on the equipment and delaying that. Good thinking. About the dashboards that you're talking around asset management, very curious about that, because in my world we say you can't manage what you don't measure. Is there going to be an opportunity for the public to see that? And I'm particularly interested because what this is going to allow you to do is do a really good gap analysis and capacity assessment too. So if there's an opportunity for the public to see this, recognizing obviously you have to see it and, you know, this is not a done deal, but I think that would be really fantastic and show kind of where you're moving to as a council. Because I think we often get, or at least in my experience, we get into the have not mowed, and it's very good for people to see the work that goes on and what we actually have. So if that's able to be publicly available, that would be great. Also had a question on what happened with the strategic planning discussion and if there was the gathering around the strategic planning. I know there was a question about that. I'm very curious because you talked about basically having a report card about what's been achieved, and
We're meeting on the 16th of June.
fantastic. Yeah, very. I maybe have a different take on it. In not understanding it's that you're trying to produce a strategic plan for what's coming next or the next council, but that you're really kind of doing an assessment of what you've planned and what you've achieved. And that falls really in line with kind of your ideas around the dashboard, around asset mapping. So really curious to see what happens with that. And I love that you're going in that direction. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that being said, our next public meeting is taking place on June 9th at 6:30 here in the town hall. Could I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So ends our meeting.